Greetings, humans. It's me, Bob Harris, senior editor of FootballDiehards.com. Time for the Week 11 injury review, preview, update, overview thing I like to do every Saturday. Get you up to speed, kind of set the table for your lineup decisions. I'll run through all this week's kickoffs in chronological order to kind of give you an idea of what fallbacks you need if any of your players are on this list. We'll start out by noting the Packers, Giants, Seahawks, and Titans are all on bye. Get them out of your lineups. And then we'll go in the early afternoon kickoffs. The Falcons are at Carolina. They'll be there without Devontae Freeman. Midfoot sprain for him. Austin Hooper sprained MCL. Freeman's supposed to miss maybe 2 weeks is the early estimates. The estimate on Hooper would be a month. So, and one of the most productive fantasy tight end, heavily targeted. It's been fantastic. So they'll go with Luke Stalker and Jaden Graham at tight end. Stalker known more for his blocking skills, but maybe a capable red zone threat. This is a really good matchup. The Panthers not good in the red zone. Panthers also not good at stopping opposing running backs. So with Brian Hill taking over the featured role, they do have Kadri Olson, the rookie running back, who's kind of a carbon copy of what Brian Hill is, a bigger guy, both capable enough receivers. Kenyon Barner might get a little work as a receiver, but this looks like the Brian Hill show, and it's a great matchup. If you want to find out more about that, read my DFS 3 and out column, or check the late-breaking updates. I have an update on the Falcons early Saturday that kind of lays that out. I also like Russell Gage in that game a little bit. On the other side of the ball, injuries are all free and clear. It's a good matchup for the Panthers as well, assuming the same Falcons defense we saw against the Saints last week doesn't show up. I don't know why we think that. Hasn't been that except for one game this year. Detroit hosting Dallas without Matthew Stafford. Jeff Driscoll will start at quarterback. Ty Johnson, the running back, listed as questionable, but he practiced fully Friday. He could come back. J.D. McKissick, more of a receiving back, will be in the mix there too. This may be a little easier to throw than run against the Cowboys. Although Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones have pretty tough individual matchups, and Jeff Driscoll is their quarterback. Not saying don't start these guys, just saying it's worth noting. The Indianapolis Colts will go to host Jacksonville. Jordan Wilkins, backup running backs, listed as questionable. Mo Alley Cox, the backup third tight end, also questionable. Okay. The guy we're all interested in, Jacoby Brissett, will return to the starting lineup. There will be no T.Y. Hilton or Paris Campbell. We'll watch and see if Devin Funchess gets activated today at some point. He has been practicing, but sounded like he might not quite be ready. So Zach Pascal will continue to be the primary receiving option. Wasn't a great game from last week against Miami, but this week he'll have another opportunity again. Jacksonville, Nick Foles moves back in as a starting quarterback. Of course, Gardner Minshew returns to the bench. The Baltimore-Houston game, boy, won't that one be exciting. For the Ravens, Marquise Hollywood-Brown, questionable as usual. I think only 2 wide receivers were targeted by Lamar Jackson. The rest of the targets went to mostly tight ends. The 3 tight ends for the Ravens have been very active, more so than the wide receivers. Unusual development. But Marquise Brown has been the exception, right? He's been very productive. He is listed as questionable. I would expect him to play. Will Fuller on the other side of the ball listed as questionable as well. He seems a little less certain. The Texans have a Thursday game next week, I think against the Colts, and maybe they want him to get fully healthy. The same with Minnesota. They'll hold out Adam Thielen. They have a Week 12 bye, so that'll give him this week, next week to fully heal. Try to come back against Kansas City the week before and didn't work out well, so they want to get him fully healthy. On the other side of the ball for the Broncos, Deshaun Hamilton showed up as questionable. Tweaked his knee in practice Thursday. Jeff Hireman, the tight end, listed as doubtful, unlikely to play. Oh, I'm just getting a notification here on Ty Johnson. He is officially cleared from the concussion protocol. So there we have that. He has been removed from the injury report. So good news for him and Ty Johnson owners. All right, so back to the Denver Broncos. Deshaun Hamilton, Jeff Hireman, questionable for Hamilton, doubtful for Hireman. Tim Patrick, the receiver, who was activated off injured reserve, seems like he'll play a role this week. The New York Jets are at Washington. Le'Veon Bell, Demaryius Thomas, both listed as questionable. Bell is fully expected to play. He had an illness this week, but he's pretty beat up. Blocking hasn't been great. Just keep all that in mind. Demaryius Thomas also seems likely to play. He's been working through his issues ever since he arrived in New York. Chris Herndon will not play again this year. Injured a rib in his first game back, placed on injured reserve, so his season's essentially over. For the Washington Redskins, Chris Thompson, Paul Richardson, the wide receiver, ruled out. Vernon Davis ruled out. Darius Geis returns to the mix, and he'll get some work behind Adrian Peterson. Bill Callahan seems to favor Adrian Peterson and the rushing attack. Dwayne Haskins, of course, will continue on as the starter for the rest of the season. So that's worth keeping in mind if you're investing in the rushing attack here. Terry McLaurin, the only really receiving threat of interest on this one at this point. Late afternoon kickoffs. The Niners are a mess. George Kittle, Matt Breida, Robbie Gould, all listed as doubtful for this game. Emmanuel Sanders, Dante Pettis, and Raheem Mostert all questionable. I would say Pettis has been questionable. Pettis is also in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse. Just hasn't been performing up to expectations. Deebo Samuel's coming on strong. My guess is Kittle and Breida and Gold will all be out. Chase McLaughlin will continue to fill in. Kicker Ross Dwelley would be the prime. And it's against Arizona, so it's kind of interesting noting who the tight end is, of course. Great matchup for tight ends, the Cardinals. Ross Dwelley would fill in for George Kittle. Breida, it would be Mostert, and of course Tevin Coleman would be the primary guy. I do expect Mostert to play. He's been questionable pretty much every week in the last month and has played through that. Sanders seems pretty dicey. He went through the team's walkthroughs Thursday and Friday. Hasn't had any contact. It's a rib injury. It's supposedly up high. Makes it a little difficult for him. So that's one to watch in the late afternoon window. On the other side of the ball, Chase Edmonds has been ruled out with his ongoing hamstring issues. He's going to come back at some point, and it's going to be a three-headed monster. For now, it's David Johnson and Kenyon Drake. I have a pretty good article on the late-breaking updates section kind of outlining what's going on with the running backs there. Basically, in a nutshell, Cliff Kingsbury won't say who's the starter is and who's going to be on the field. It's going to depend on the kind of plays and the packages. Kenyon Drake had great success against the 49ers, very tough defense, but you can run on them. So maybe we see a little more Kenyon Drake this week, but going to be very difficult to predict week to week. Philadelphia Eagles, they've got serious issues too. Jordan Howard had not been cleared for contact, has a shoulder stinger as of early Friday. He was limited again Friday's practice. They signed Jay Ajayi. Darren Sproles' season is essentially over with a quad injury. Alshon Jeffrey is out. So it looks like a good opportunity for Miles Sanders. Ajayi may be active. I don't know what I would expect. One game, just 2 days after signing a contract with the team, but he does know the offense. But this seems like it would be the Miles Sanders show against the Patriots defense, who, very tough defense, but they can be run on a little bit. So be interesting to see how this one plays out. Howard, I don't have great faith in, I'll be honest. On the other side of the ball, Damian Harris and Matt Lacoste, both listed as questionable. Not really a lot of fantasy hope for either of those. Cincinnati Bengals are at Oakland. AJ Green and the rookie tight end Drew Sample, both ruled out. I'm not sure when Green's going to be back. They've been calling him day to day. They expected him back last week. It didn't work out. A lot of rumors behind the scenes that, he's looking to shut down, but we'll see how that plays out. But he will not play this week. Sunday night, also problematic. David Montgomery is listed as questionable with an ankle injury. Matt Nagy said he lightly rolled it in practice Wednesday. He did get back on the practice field Friday, so that's a little bit encouraging. But it's a Sunday night kickoff, so you're going to need a fallback option, whether it's somebody else in Chicago, Tariq Cohen. They have Ryan Nall, who nobody knows. Maybe you go out and grab him off your waiver wire and get some hope. It just is a possible fallback to avoid taking a zero. Don't know how much he'd be due, but he is the other back on the 53-man roster. Cordero Patterson would probably get some carries too. Adam Shaheen and Trey Burton both have been ruled out of this one, so be careful with the tight end plays there. On the other side of the ball, both tight ends are questionable. Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee, both questionable. Wrist and knee. Sean McVay's expressed confidence that they will, or optimism at least, that they'll both be available. Brandon Cooks is out again in this one as well. Monday Night Football, we're good to go. Chargers and Chiefs, everybody's healthy, at least everyone in fantasy interest. So there we have it. Get your lineup set. Head for footballdiehards.com. I just want to remind you all, we have tons of content on there. If you're going through Sunday's kickoff, I will have the inactives in real time as they're announced on the main page of the site in the late breaking update section. Tons of other content there. John Lobb's DraftKings, the Scholars DraftKings sheet of knowledge just up today. But tons of content from Kyle Dvorak, myself, Justin Lanero, Mike Valverde, Brad Cruz. Plenty of stuff to keep you busy. Some video, some audio, the Football Diehards podcast. We have the Wednesday night roster build show with Kyle and Bobby Gomes, the former DraftKings Millionaire Maker winner, is awaiting you. You can check out their initial roster build. Then tune in live Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. They'll do an hour of roster tweaking, answering questions, all kinds of fun stuff like that. Also check out Emil Cadlick and I are doing a Friday night video. If you're online, jump on the Periscope with us. We'll answer your questions in real time as well. Beyond that, listen to the Football Diehards on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio every weekday at 6 p.m. We're on Saturday night on SiriusXM NFL Channel 88 from 8 to 11. And I'm on with Jeff Manns on the SiriusXM pregame show from 11 to 1 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be doing the inactives and analyzing them in real time as well while I'm posting them on the website. So tune in, everybody. Good luck this week. We're heading down to crunch time to get some wins and getting those playoffs. Good luck, everybody.